Hi everyone, welcome back to Brain Dump, a show where I talk about pretty much whatever the fuck I want to talk about. I have tried recording the beginning of this episode like 10 times, and every time, something keeps happening. My phone goes off, the door, the dogs. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna do this. Okay, today I'm gonna be talking about anxiety. It's a tool. It sucks a lot, but it's necessary. I don't think anxiety ever goes away because it helps us grow. Sometimes I feel like it steals away from my peace. I'll do something like journaling and then suddenly my anxiety plants an idea in my brain, and now it's all I think about until I let it out. I always have to remind myself that my anxiety is lying to me. It puts my body into fight or flight mode, which is so exhausting. Like, I've held myself back from things that I was 100% capable of because my anxiety was telling me that I couldn't do it. Feelings are not facts. My therapist says this all the time. You have to ask yourself, is there evidence to support those anxious thoughts? I know that sounds stupid, but that's how you challenge your anxiety's lies. I used to get really nervous with big crowds. I was always so convinced that there was going to be an active shooter, so my anxiety always told me to be looking to the nearest exit. Something that helps me personally, and also take this with a grain of salt, everyone's growth process is different, and just because something works for me doesn't mean it'll work for everyone. Finding out what you need is all a part of self-growth. Something that helps me is mindfulness, and it plays a huge role in your mental well-being. I've definitely emphasized this before. You have to be ultra aware of why you feel what you feel. Knowing the why helps calm my anxieties. I need to be constantly observing my own thoughts and actions to help understand myself better. And again, that can be exhausting. A lot of it's exhausting. Just working on yourself, it's a huge shift. I've learned that anxiety manifests itself in so many different ways. Stomach aches, when you get that pit in your stomach, heavy breathing, maybe you start hyperventilating, chest pains. Sometimes I even get really bad migraines because there's just so much going on in my noggin. For a while, the main source of my anxiety was, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And for some reason, I wished so badly that things could be like they were in high school, when life was so simple. But a part of my growth included coming to the realization that there's absolutely no point in thinking about that time in my life anymore. It's over. I can only focus on now, today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, right now. It's not worth overthinking about high school and what I could have done to make my experience better, and I don't want to go back to high school. The fuck? I hated that shit. I loved doing theater and I loved, my circle of people in high school, but overall, high school was shitty to me. My anxiety also dictated my relationships for a long time, too. Well, obviously I know I've made mistakes, and I take accountability. I'm trying to be better. My brain was just telling me that this isn't gonna work out, like with every single friendship or relationship ever. I am self-destructive. I've said that before, and I've hurt a lot of people because of that. That part of me contributed to the inevitable end of all my relationships. Nope, not inevitable. I need to... That's another thing, just talking down on yourself, it's not good. I don't want to say that none of my relationships are ever going to work because I do want to find love one day. That sounds so cringy! I hate myself. No, I don't. I love me. Okay. Continuing on. Honestly, I've never felt this good in my life. A lot of the time with relationships, it's just a compatibility issue. Unless they did something crazy like cheat or kill your dog or something. People just aren't compatible, and learning to accept that, it was hard. It was really hard, but I know that everything does happen for a reason, and, while a door closed, a window opened, and, I don't know, finding someone that understands the way I want to communicate, it's refreshing. I'll never blame any of my past relationships for, honestly, anything. It's done and it's over with, so why would I lose sleep over it? But, new opportunities arise, and I know happiness is coming. When I'm alone in my room at night, that's when my anxious thoughts really start to take over. I used to scroll mindlessly when this happened, but I know that I shouldn't sleep after being on my phone for that long, so I've made it a habit for the last 30 minutes before I go to sleep, I'm reading, so my head is clear. Before I started doing that, I had such a hard time falling asleep, lost in my thoughts, but now, I'm out. After I read that chapter of Twilight, I am out. I am snoring. My anxiety also, okay, I'm gonna say the word anxiety so many fucking times in this episode, and I'm sorry. My anxiety also caused me to fear every single feeling or sensation I've ever had. Every trigger would make me start hyperventilating. For a while, it was so bad that I literally couldn't think about one bad thing without having a panic attack. I'm a really anxious person. I've always been like that. A huge part of that was childhood trauma, but it was really bad for a long time. My mom is my rock, and she knows how fucking awful I was. It makes me happy that she says that she's seen so much growth in me, and I'm so proud of her, too, because she's grown so much. Sometimes I forget it's also our parents' first time living, too. You know, when you're a kid, my mom's such an almighty being, like, I must worship the ground she walks on. Which is true. I love Joe, love you, but, you know, we're all just people. And my mom doesn't know everything. I don't know everything. She doesn't know all the answers, but as a kid, I expected her to. Tools and therapy have really helped with that. I've had to ground myself and challenge those distorted thoughts. While I was catastrophizing every single situation in my life, it consumed all of me. Like, I cannot think about anything until that issue is resolved. But some things aren't going to be resolved, and closure isn't always an option, which sucks, but it's life. Like, you can't dread on it because there's no point. Something I learned about in therapy is filtering, which is essentially you blocking out every single good thing you've ever experienced and only looking at the bad. For me, let's see. When I was like 12, a few family members and I were at a mall in Florida, and we started hearing really loud popping, and then we saw a tidal wave of people running towards us. It was fucking terrifying. Like, I have never seen this many people just running at full speed, looking so scared. It was like a real-life horror movie. We had to sprint out of there, and later we found out that it was just people setting off fireworks to steal a Rolex. But, you know, ever since then, whenever I go to the mall, I only think about that experience. Especially before that, I also had an awful fear of just shootings in general. It's always been something that I'm so ultra aware about, and I don't know why. I mean, we live in America. It happens like every single day. It took up so much of my mind for a really long time. Ever since then, whenever I go to the mall, I only think about that experience. The first entire year after that happened, I refused to go to the mall. I was so anxious that something really bad would happen, even though I have so many good memories at the mall. Hanging out in middle school with my friends, just doing stupid shit. You know, since then I've gotten better about going, but sometimes those thoughts come back and I make my brain think about literally anything else. For a while, I was just lying to myself, but thinking rationally is so important in instances like that. There are so many other ways my anxiety's lied to me. Like, if I'm drinking at a party, I start to think about my dad's alcoholism. I have a very addictive personality, so I drink in moderation because I know my limits. I only drink socially because I don't want to be like my dad. Also, alcohol just doesn't taste that good, I'm just saying. One of the first high school parties I ever went to, I had a huge anxiety attack in the bathroom because I thought I was so irresponsible. But guess what? It's high school. People drink. As long as you're responsible and safe, at least in my opinion, I don't see a problem with it. It's a little illegal, but you know, it's high school. You just can't stop high schoolers from drinking. Your liver will thank you later in life when those people that partied every single day will be having mega health issues. Also, ever since I went to the mental hospital, I hate going to doctor's offices and just hospitals in general. It's so triggering because for some reason my mind tells me that they're gonna like snatch me away. But realistically, that wouldn't happen. I've been avoiding scheduling doctor's appointments because of that. But I know I need to, you know, get my physical done and get my heart checked up and just all these things that I need to do for my health. And I'm not because I'm avoiding it. But I'm gonna call a doctor today. That's what I'm gonna do. That's gonna be my thing today. That scares me. I'm gonna schedule an appointment. I'm a huge advocate for therapy. We know that. And it's a huge privilege. Some people aren't fortunate enough to go. It's really helpful having someone with a clear perspective kind of dig around in your brain and figure out the roots from my irrational thoughts. And just in case you're not able to go to therapy, I want to share some resources because there are so many resources online. Psychologytoday.com is a great one. Verywellmind.com also has so many entries about pretty much every single mental health condition, and they also have a podcast. I love verywellmind.com. This is not sponsored by them, by the way, but if you want. Anyway, they have so much on there. I also sign up for their email newsletter tips. I know this may not be helpful because, you know, I'm like 70 years old and I check my email. You know, if you want a daily dosage of mental health tips, I'd sign up for that. A big issue that I dealt with for a really long time was caring too much about what other people think of me. A lot of that came from Instagram, but on top of that, I would just make up scenarios in my head that would realistically never happen. It sucks. Anxiety sucks. But again, I know that it's needed. Avon is the sponsor for today's episode once again. So I got a letter in the mail, and it's from Avon. So Avon sent me a whole catalog of things to promote. Just looking at it, I want to buy everything. Avon has pretty much everything you need. Skincare, perfume, makeup, jewelry, and so much clothes. They have a bunch of two-piece sets for like $30, and honestly, I love. There's this rejuvenating dual night cream. I've used this for a few weeks now. I love it. It makes my skin feel so rehydrated, and the regular price on it is $50, but right now it is $39.99. So please go to avon.com/repstore/kmcalvin. Thanks, Avon. Are you looking for unique things to decorate your house? Do you like plants but can't keep up with watering them every day? There are these super cute things called moss balls. If you go to mossballpets.com, you'll find a wide variety of cute, as they call it, pet rocks with different terrarium kits that can be a perfect gift for a friend. All they need is water and a minimal light source to survive. Go to mossballpets.com/discount/braindumpwithkai for a 5% discount on your first purchase. These little guys are so cute and they literally live up to 200 years. It's wild considering how little work it is to take care of them. Again, thank you so much to Mossball Pets for sponsoring today's episode, and be sure to go to mossballpets.com/discount/braindumpwithkai for a 5% discount. I feel like my anxiety is always heightened and I can't calm it down. Like, while I'm having a panic attack, I'll think it'll never end, but it will. I'm not going to be hyperventilating forever. I'll be okay. Telling yourself that is one thing, but believing it is on a whole another level of difficult. When I'm panicking, it's like an emotional state of blinding fear. Like I said, you filter out everything positive and only see the downsides. That's not a healthy way of living at all. So now, even if I do have a bad experience, I try to see at least one good thing that came out of it. And I'm not perfect. Some days that's simply not possible for me. Just because I'm working on myself doesn't mean I'm not going to have bad days. Bad days are just as useful as good days. The consistency of trying to see the bright side is everything because it's not going to happen overnight. We know that. I'm still learning. You're still learning. I don't think the growth process ever really ends. I'm always changing and evolving. Everyone is. And with that, so do my thoughts and my habits. A tool that helps me now may not help me in a few years. And that's just change. That's okay. A part of dismissing the nagging anxiety is to make yourself uncomfortable. I've had some of the best times of my life while being uncomfortable. Like on April 29th, I went to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium with no Taylor Swift tickets. I was going to see Taylor Swift. I was not going to go home after waiting there all day. I was there for hours. I got such bad sunburn, but I finally got tickets about 45 minutes before Taylor went on. I thought I was getting scammed though. Let me tell you this little story. I was waiting for hours and then this guy came up to me. And he was like, "Do you want tickets?" And I was like, because, there's so many people outside the venue just wanting to scam people by selling fake tickets. So, I was refreshing Ticketmaster. And of course, every time I tried to get a ticket, I couldn't go fast enough and the seat was already taken by the time I picked it. In the beginning of the day, I was, constantly refreshing Ticketmaster. And there was one floor seat for $47. And I freaking missed it. $47. For a floor seat at Taylor Swift. Oh my god. I had a great view. I'm not complaining about my view. This guy came up to me and I was like, I don't know. I'm just too scared for it to be a scam. I'm not going to waste my money and not see Taylor Swift. And so he was like, "No, you don't have to pay until we get in there." And I was like, okay, I'm good with that. So me and 5 other girls went with this guy and it was so sketchy. I thought he was leading us to an alleyway, but he just let himself into the venue. He took I don't know what those things are called that, block off entryways. It looks like a seatbelt, whatever. He took that thing off and let us in. He was like, "Go, go, go." And I was like, "What are we doing? Are we sneaking in right now?" But apparently he worked for the venue, whatever. And once we got in there, he was like, "Okay, just $250." And at that point, obviously that $47 floor seat would have been great. But all the other websites, third-party sellers like SeatGeek and I'm drawing a blank. I can't think of any other ticket websites, but everything was over $1,000. And on top of that, the fees. Oh my god, the fees were so much. I'd find a ticket for $1,000 and then by the time it was at checkout, it was $1,350. And I'm like, why the fuck? Why are there so many fees? So luckily with this guy, no fees. Just had to sell him $250 and I was on my way. So, I got out of my comfort zone and I had a great fucking time. I used to hate doing things alone. And also, like I said before, big crowds are not for me. So, doing that was a huge step and it made me more confident to do things by myself because I had the best concert experience of my life. I was screaming and singing and I didn't give a fuck what people were thinking. And all because I didn't listen to my anxieties. And I said, fuck it. I'm gonna do this even though it makes me nervous. Nothing is really that deep. If you think about it, we live on a floating rock, and in 5 years, chances are that little issue that you have going on will be way in the past, and you'll have a whole new set of issues. We always worry. I don't think that's something that can ever go away. At least, not in my personal experience, but, the worries you have right now are temporary, and you can either resist that or accept it. For a long time, my joy and my happiness and just my peace was being stolen from me because I wouldn't fully accept that. I feel like labeling my feelings is vital in a state of panic. Sometimes just stating it out loud or writing it out helps me figure out the why. To me, routines are important, but not all days are the same. And not all days you're going to feel the same. I have different routines for different energy levels. If I have absolutely no energy, I give myself permission to rest. I practice gratitude. Maybe I'll have a marathon of my comfort show, or I'll eat something quick and easy. Those are just a few examples of what you can do. And when I have low energy, I do like to get dressed for the day. That's the very first step. Sometimes, when you're at that zero energy level, you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to get dressed. But low energy, that's the bare minimum for me. It takes a lot to get out of bed when you're feeling depressed. It takes everything out of you. And sometimes just getting out of bed, that's what I did today. That's my accomplishment, and that is enough. Maybe I'll make some instant coffee, plan what I can do when I have more energy, or read a book, take a walk outside. I don't know. Even just sitting outside in my backyard. It's so good to get fresh air, and I feel like I don't get enough. I spend so much time inside. In times where I have high energy, I might meal prep for those days when I'm not feeling it, so I'm kind of ahead. Maybe I'll answer some emails for school, spend some time learning something new. Like I said, I'm learning French, and I love it so much. I'll go for a bike ride. I love 2023 because you can just go to a trail, and they have these bikes that you can rent for free. It puts a $10 hold on your account when you have the bike, but once you give it back, I get my $10 back. I just think that's so convenient because I do have a bike, but it needs a lot of air, and I don't feel like doing that. So there's a lot of trails near me, and it's very pretty. That's my current niche right now, riding bikes. Maybe I'll spend some time with the people I love. I have to do this when I have high energy because my social battery drains so quickly. You have to remember that progress isn't linear and isn't technically about getting better. It's about bouncing back from your lows. And when you reach those highs, it feels so good, but then it feels even better when you conquer those lows and those valleys. So my therapist shared an exercise with me that helped me remind myself that my thoughts can be irrational. So part 1 is the experiment plan. First, you write out what you want to test, the thought that's making your anxiety peak. Next is experiment, which is asking yourself the question, how can you test this thought? When will you do that? Next is prediction. Asking yourself what you think is going to happen during the experiment. This part is hard because you do want to catastrophize the possible outcome, but think of a realistic outcome. And you can even rank how you think you're going to feel after you complete this experiment. So part 2 is after you run this experiment. First is outcome. What happened during the experiment? How do you feel about it? And the last entry is your new thought. Given the evidence from the experiment, what is your new thought? I don't know. I like getting a piece of paper because this may sound weird, but I like holding the physical copy and write it out rather than typing. Like I said before, this was recommended by my therapist. I'm not going to take credit for this exercise. It is also on therapistaid.com, and they have a lot of resources and exercises there, so I recommend. That's all I have for today's episode. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you notice, I have my Q&A box open below this episode, and if you have any recommendations, I'm open to hearing it. I will literally talk about whatever. I have been listening to so many true crime podcasts lately. I love true crime stuff. That's just so interesting to me. But anyway, that's just what I'm thinking right now. Maybe I'll do a cold case episode or something. Anywho, yeah, just recommend whatever. I'll talk about whatever. I'm an open book. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. Remember that you are loved, you are valued, and you are appreciated. I'll see you guys later. No? Right? You will hear me later. Nope. That was weird last time. How do I want to... Bye.